Hi friends, it's Becky, and I have something that I would like to make with you using some of the beads that came in the Potomac Beads Treasure Edition for May. This was the Whispers of Antiquity box, and in this we had some 3-hole beads and some 2-hole beads and some pearls and some 8-0 seed beads, and I decided that I was going to make a little bit of a bead weaving pattern with these. So I have two different options here that I'm going to be making a second one of these because it's got a little loop up here that I'm going to use to attach an ear wire to for earrings. And then this one, it doesn't have the loop, it just has this round trio at the top. And I'm going to be using this in a necklace design in another video, but I want to show you how to make this basic component before we do that. So these are the bits and pieces and the beads that you'll need for it. You're going to need at least, for each component, you'll need 5 of these Potomac pearls. And these pearls, what size were they? They are 6mm Potomac pearls, so we've got some of those. We've got round trios, and the round trios are just these round beads that have 3 holes through them. We're only going to be using 2 of those holes in this design, but they are very useful for other purposes as well. So we'll need 5 of those. We're going to need 12 of the irisduo beads because we're going to be using those in our design, and you're going to need 32 of the 8-0 seed beads for this design and 37 8-0 seed beads for this design. And that's how many of each of those beads you're going to need. I've got some dragon thread that I pulled off for this. I'm using size 6. This is a size 11 beading needle that I've got this on, and I've got about an arm's length of thread already attached to my needle. And to measure that out, you just hold one end in your finger and hold the other end and then pull it out. Hold this to your shoulder, to like your left shoulder, and then pull out your right arm as far as it'll go, and that'll give you an arm's length. And that's a decent amount to start with. So let's scooch in a little bit and we will get started making this component. All right, and to start, we're going to start with the round duos and some seed beads. And I'm going to leave about maybe 3 inches on the end, but I'm going to pick up the round trios, not round duos, round trios. And this is just a little tip for when you are using multi-hole beads. If you just stick your needle in each hole before you put it on your needle, just to make sure that all the holes are clear, it'll save you a lot of headaches later on. So I'm going to grab 1 round trio, 1 8-0, and then 1 round trio and 1 8-0. And I'm going to do this until I have 4 round trios and 4 8-0s on my needle. Separate it out like that. So let's get all these guys on here. I'm going to put my extra one that I'm not using yet, move it out of the way. And like I said, we're not using the middle hole, but I'm just checking it anyway because it is a good habit to get into, to just double check all the holes of your multi-hole beads before you put it on your needle. Okay. So now I've got 3 8-0s and 4 of the round trios. So I'm going to pull on 1 more 8-0 so that I have 4 of each. I'm going to hold on to my tail thread here, and then I'm going to sew right into the same hole that I'm already going into on all of these round trios, so that I'm making a circle with my thread and the 8-0s. I'm going to go through all of these one more time. There you go. Hold on to your tail thread And then pull this through. So that we make a little square. There we go. So now that I've got that in there, it's just 2 passes of the thread through here. It's a little bit easier to do it before you make it into a square. And I'm going to tie this in a knot, just a double knot for my tail thread. And then I'm going to weave it in and cut it off so that it's not in the way for the rest of this design process. You can leave it out if you want and just weave it in later, but I'm just going to take care of it right now before we do anything further. And to do that, I'm just going to grab a second needle. This is a wide-eye needle because it's really easy to thread. And I'm just going to go through this circle one time after tying that knot, just so that the when I cut away, it's going to be a little bit further away from where the knot is. And also because each time you go through, each time you pass through the beads, it increases the tension, and tension helps hold the thread in place. It helps. It's not the only thing, but it definitely helps. Each time we go through. All right, I'm just going to move out here. And I've just passed my starting point, so I'm going to take that off of here, give this a snip. And now I can continue on without worrying about that getting in the way. So I'm coming out of this round duo here. I'm just going to sew into this 8/0 real quick before I do anything else. We are going to pick up one of these pearl beads. So I'm coming out of, I'm holding it this way, coming out of the left side of this 8/0. I want to sew into the left side of the 8/0 on the opposite end of this square to me. So I'm going left to right through that one if I'm holding it this way. And now that I'm coming out of that one, I want to sew back into that pearl bead and into that 8/0 on the other side of the 8/0 from where it's coming out of. So over there on that side, and go ahead and continue through that round duo, or round trio, sorry. I forget sometimes. And now we're going to step up to the next level of the round trio by going into that middle hole and then through that outer hole. So if you've got your inner hole that's close to the middle of the work, and then your outer hole will be further away from the work. And we're going to be working through these outer holes for the rest of this next round. And this next round, we're also going to be using some irisduos. Now, I like to make sure that I go through my beads in the same direction if I'm using beads that have a front and a back. Like there's the flat back on this side, and then there's the rounded side on this one. So I like to line them up so they are all in the same orientation. That way I know that I'm going, if I go through the top hole from right to left. I'm going to do the same thing, top hole right to left, on every single one of these on my next move. And that's just something that I like to do to make sure that I am doing the same thing every time. So the next step is going to be picking up an 8/0 and then sewing through. And the way I've got this oriented, the top hole from right to left of my irisduo. Then I'm going to pick up another 8/0. I'm going to sew through this outer hole on my round trio for the next round trio in this sequence. So that's just going to pop that on right there. I'm going to do that again. Pick up an 8/0. If this is got a pointy end pointing towards me, then the top hole, the hole that's further away from me, I'm going to go right to left through that one. And then pick up another 8/0 and sew through that outer hole on the round trio. Like that. And I'm just going to do that 2 more times. And 1 more time. 8/0. Again, making sure it's oriented the same way the other ones were, so that I can go through that top hole, the one that's furthest away from me, going from right to left, and then going through like that. That's just one of those things that I like to do when I've got multi-hole beads that have like a top and a bottom or a front and a back. I didn't need to pay attention to that with the round trio because they're round. There's no front and back. The only thing is you've got your outer holes and then your center hole. That's the only differences there. Now this is a little bit loose, so I am going to sew through all of these one more time. Just going to go around, tighten things up. Because I am not going to go back through these until at the end if I feel like it. I might not feel like it. But this way there'll be at least 2 passes of thread through these beads. So I'm coming out of one of the irisduos, and I'm going to step up to that next level on the irisduo. So I'm going to come out of this hole here that's closer to the work, and I'm going to go through the hole that's further out from the work. All right. Now this one's going to be a little bit more complicated. Again, we've got more of the irisduos, and now we're going to be throwing in some pearls. So for this, I want them to sort of be pointing the same way that this is, but they're going to be right next to it. So if I've got these with one of the pointy ends towards me, I'm going to go from right to left in the bottom hole, the one that's closest to me, so that when it's sitting next to me, or so when it's sitting next to this one, it's sitting there in that orientation. And then I'm going to pick up an 8/0, a pearl, an 8/0, and another irisduo in the same orientation, the same way it's going. And I'm going to go from here on this irisduo directly over to this irisduo that's the next one in this sequence. And that's going to kind of stack those guys on top of each other like that. And I'm going to do that again. Go through my irisduo, pick up an 8/0, pick up my pearl, pick up an 8/0, and then go through my irisduo and sew through that next irisduo. Boom, boom. And I'm going to do this 2 more times. Let's make sure that our irisduos are oriented right. Get our pearls in the correct way so that I can go through my irisduo the same way I did the other ones. 8/0, pearl, 8/0, and then irisduo. And every single time I've done this, I've forgotten one of my 8-ohs and I had to go back. So if you forget your 8-oh when you're doing this little round part, don't worry, just go back. Make sure you check that you got all your 8-ohs before you tighten it up or before you go through and sew your second one around. And even if you do your second one around, you can still loosen up your thread and do it that way. Hold on, this is a little bit stuckety. There we go. So that's good. And I just said that, so I'm probably going to forget it. Except now that I'm talking about it, I'm not going to. But every other time that I've done this, I forgot at least one of my 8-ohs. And I need this to be in the right orientation, so I'm going to turn it. There we go. Perfect. All right, this is going to be a little bit fun because I'm going to be going through all of these beads one more time. And some of them are lined up very nicely so you can go through several of them at a time. I'm holding on to this irisduo and just pulling on the thread in order to tighten that up a little bit. You can already see it's shaped up quite a lot just from this. So I'm just going to follow my thread path around and go through all of these beads on that round one more time before we proceed. And I am sorry, it is summertime in Texas, which means that flies come in the door. So there is one that is flying around my house. I actually had a June bug dive bombing my head about 5 or 10 minutes ago before I started this. Like right before I started this, which if you've never met a June bug, they are just the biggest, dumbest, most harmless bugs out there. They're just these big fat beetles that fly around and bump into things because they're the worst. And so it was like bumping into my head and I was like, oh buddy, we got to get you outside. This is not the place for you. So that's what I did. I grabbed it and took it outside, let it be free. There's a frog that lives underneath our back porch that loves our back porch because that's where all of the June bugs come to bump into our light on our back porch. So it gets real fat. And Ellen always goes out and tries to eat it, and she puts the frog in her mouth and she immediately spits it out, and then she drools and spits because frogs don't taste good. They're not good for her to try to eat. But I wrote a song about it, actually. It's called Don't Eat Frogs, and it's to the tune of Jolene by Dolly Parton. It's just a song begging my dog not to eat frogs. All right, so I'm just going to go through here. We're going to go around one last time. And we're just going to add some seed beads just here in the corners on this. You can leave it like this if you want to. This would probably make a really cool component for a bracelet. You could stack several of them together. But I'm going to be using it for earrings. And this is the one that I'm going to be using for a pendant. So I want to add some seed beads just right here on the ends of these irisduos. And so to do that, I'm coming out of one of these irisduos. These are the two that I added when I was adding the pearls. So I'm coming out of that one. I'm going to hop up to the next level of this irisduo right here. And I'm going to pick up 3 8-oh seed beads. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. I'm going to sew right here into this next irisduo. It's right next to that so that that bridges it. And then I'm going to jump down from this hole in my irisduo to this hole in the other irisduo. I'm going to try to go through all 3 of these, but you can't always angle your needle to go through all 3 at the same time. So just going through 2 of them, that'll be fine. That'll work. But now I'm going to go through that one more time. I'm going to go through that top hole on that irisduo, and then I'm just going to go through the 8/0s that are next to the irisduos. I'm going to skip this center one. So I'm going through, I'm actually trying to angle it so that I go through both of them like that, but I'm skipping that one. You can go through them one at a time. You don't have to go through them both at the same time. That way when I pull it tight, that kind of pops that out just a little bit, gives me a little bit of a picot. And now I'm going to skip back down here to this go around, go through all of those irisduos again, and through that 8/0 because I need to get my thread over here to this section. So I'm going to sew through that 8/0, the pearl, the 8/0, this irisduo. I'm going to sew through that irisduo and the next one. So I'm sewing through all 3 of these so that I can get over here to the other side and jump up here to this side, this end of that irisduo, and add 3 more seed beads. 1, 2, 3. We're going to sew here into this side of this, and I'm going to go around again, and on my second pass I'm just going to sew through this seed bead and this seed bead, but I'm going to skip that center guy. So let's go back through all 3 of these, and this is where I'm saying sometimes you can angle it so you go through all 3 of them at the same time. If you can't, that's fine. Just go through a couple of them, and then the other one separately or later. All right, and there we go. I went through both of those seed beads and I skipped that one. All right, and now I'm going to go back down here, and the thread path is going to take me over here. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep going all the way around. I'm going to do this one more time, and then on my last go around, we're going to add that last round trio. So let's just do this guy one more time. Scooch my needle along. There we go. It's just going to give me a little more room on that. And 3 seed beads. 1, 2, 3. Pop those guys into place. And I'm going to go around in a little circle again. And on my last pass, I'm going to turn it into a picot. There you go, buddy. There you go. That's how I want it. I was just moving this center bead a little bit out of the way because it was kind of making it a little more difficult. You can do that. You can move your seed beads around if you need to. All right. So now I've got picots on 3 ends. Let's go back down here. Oof. All right, so for this one, I'm going to pick up 1 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to go through one of the outer holes in this round trio and then pick up an 8/0 seed bead. Oh wait, I'm sorry, my thread isn't in the right place first. I'm coming out of this irisduo. I want to be coming in the same place that I was when I was putting in my picots. I want to be coming out of this top hole on this irisduo. Now we pick up a 8/0 seed bead, go through one of the outer holes of the round trios, and pick up an 8/0 seed bead, and then go through here like that. And this is if you're just going to do like a pendant like I'm going to do. Whoop. Just lost my thread out of my needle. Let's get that sucker back in there. Is that in? Yep. There we go. Okay. Whew. Okay. So now that I've got that in there with one pass, I'm going to go back through one more time to reinforce this, just like I did with the picos. I want to go through the 8/0, the round trio, and the 8/0 when I do this. Actually, no, I want to go through the 8/0 and the round trio because, now, okay, if you're just leaving it like this and you're not going to do the little beaded loop on the top, then you just go through the round trio, work your stuff back down here, and tie off your thread. That's what I did for this one. Just like this. Go through the 8/0, back down through the irisduo, weave through your stuff, tie off your thread, burn it off. If you want to add one of these though, this little hat that he's wearing that we're going to use to attach to a earring wire. If you want to do that, then you're going to stop right here and just move up to that center hole on your round trio, and then up to that further hole, that third one right there on the very top. And now I'm going to pick up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my 8/0s, and I'm going to go into that same hole but from the opposite side, going in the same direction. So it makes a little loop. And I'm going to sew through all 5 of those seed beads and that hole one more time, just to reinforce it. Move some of these guys so that they're not as weird looking, but that's okay. But now I've got my little guys, and then I can zigzag back down through this round trio, go through that 8/0 down here that we didn't reinforce, remember? And then back down through here and continue on through the work until you get to a good point for tying off your thread. And if you've got enough thread, you can go all the way back around this part again. I'm just going to go a little bit further away from the end here, and I'm going to go ahead and tie off here. See how there's the little thread bridge between these two beads? I'm going to go under it, but not all the way through it, because I want there to be a little loop here that I can go through with my needle. That's going to just make a little half hitch knot. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to try not to poke my finger though, because that's not fun. Nobody enjoys that. Okay, maybe if you're into acupuncture. Although that's a totally different needle, and it's poked in very specific places. And now that I've tied it off, I'm just going to scooch a little bit further away from where I tied it off. And I can cut my thread, and then I can burn it down with like a thread burner if I want to. And now I have my two guys that I can turn into an earring if I have an earring wire. Do I have an earring wire handy? That's the question. There were some ear wires that came in the kit, or in the box, the bead box, but they have these setting places, and I destroyed one when I was trying to put those chatons in there, the ones that came in the box, and then I lost one of those chatons, so I'm just not messing with these because I do not have the skills to be able to use them. Not yet. But I do have other ear wires that we can put on here. Let's just see. Where are they? You would think that I would have a lot of ear wires that would be handy, but I don't have a ton. I just wanted to show you. And actually, I think it's going to be a different ear wire, not that one. Let's use one of these, because they are a little more forgiving when you've got larger seed beads, I think. There we go. So that is an earring that we've made using some seed beads, some 2-hole beads, and all of these beads, every single bead that I used in this came in the Potomac Beads Treasure Edition. So we've made these, and stay tuned because part 2, I'm going to make a necklace using this and some other beads in the Treasure Edition. And it's going to be my little pendant that is going to be part of that. So you can look forward to that. Anyway, happy beading. I hope you learned something and I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great night. Bye.